very loving and caring person towards everyone, you know. We made some programs, you can Google it, the emotions of prophets. We have done Musa alayhi salam, we have done Muhammad alayhi salam, we have done also Yusuf alayhi salam. But unfortunately, you know, he passed away, and because of, otherwise we were planning to complete all the series of prophets, you know, and bring so many jewels. One thing, you know, with him, he said, dreams are very important, and he gave a lot of dream examples from Ibn Sirin. And of course, when you have a dream, you should go to a pious person. If it is a bad dream, what you do? Sometimes split mouth to your left side. It's a good dream. Don't say it to anyone. Just go and find a good person to, you know, make a commentary of your dream. So after that, maybe we can go to Musa alayhi salam. One thing Ustaz Malik Bedri taught me from this story of Musa alayhi salam is gradual desensitization. What does it mean? Musa alayhi salam had a phobia of snakes. Not everyone is, you know, afraid of snakes. Indians, mashallah, they play with snakes. They dance with snakes, you know, they play flute, and they make the snakes dance. I am not afraid of snakes, for example. But maybe I am afraid of dogs, you know. Ladies are afraid of mice, isn't it? So it's okay. Allah asked Musa alayhi salam, ما في منك يا موسى؟ قال هي عصاي أتوكل عليها وأهش بها على غنمي ولي فيها مآرب أخرى. They say Musa alayhi salam was listing all the benefits of stick. Do you know why? Just to keep talking with Allah Almighty. He doesn't say, he aside, full stop. Allah doesn't know the benefits of aside. Of course, Allah knows everything. But Musa alayhi salam was so, you know, nasty, or what you call it, intoxicated in talking to Allah. He just started to say everything which came to his mind. He said, I could throw it away. When Musa alayhi salam threw the asa, it became a big serpent. He escaped. And he didn't turn back. He just escaped. He was so scared, he didn't turn back. Why Allah trained him in that way? Any idea? Sisters? What would happen to him with snakes again in the future? The magicians of Pharaoh would scare him off by the same snakes, you know. They throw so many snakes, they were all coming up to him. But this time, did he afraid? He was afraid, but he didn't escape this time. Because he was gradually desensitized. He was exposed to snakes. Anyone who didn't see a snake before would immediately fight or flight, escape. But those who saw snakes in the zoo, you know, lions, tigers. Last time I took my family a zoo, my little boy, Abdullah, like 4 years old, he said, Daddy, I want to climb over the tiger. Tiger is that big, like, you know, very big tiger. Daddy, can I climb over the tiger? I said, yes, you can. Try it. He was desensitized, you know. So, Musa alayhi salam is really also interesting prophets. What we were talking yesterday, psychometrics, brother? Psychometrics. We have the psychometrics of the Quran, you know. When we look at the Holy Quran, from this perspective, we have so many germs. When he helped the daughters of Shu'aib alayhi salam, what did one of them say? Daddy, employ him. Because why? He said he's strong and he's a liable person. When we were coming home, he was walking in the front so as not to look at the ladies from behind. So also he's strong. Same thing happened to Yusuf alayhi salam. He said, make me the minister of your wealth, the treasures of Egypt. Because why? Inni hafizun alim. I protect your treasures as well as I know the business, you know. So sometimes you can say, Brother Jamaluddin, I know the business, you know. I am an expert. especially in Western culture, in Turkish culture you say fakir, and a fakir. And people think, well, this man doesn't know anything. So if you go to the Western culture, it's different. Among Muslims, you can be a modest person, it's okay. But the Western people, they love, oh, I have so and so qualifications, MA, PhD, so I don't know, so many letters. Actually, I am very bad with letters. Please don't tell me IUAKM. What's that?
IIUM.
Well, I am trying to memorize this in the last 10 years. IIUM. ISIP, okay. ISIP is really easy, but the rest of other all short forms in Malaysia, I can't keep in mind. I went to university yesterday. Where's Nur? Is Nur not here?
No, she's not here.
Okay. I don't know the name of the university. What was it?
UPM.
You Malaysian guys don't know speak properly. You call me S? Professor S?
We have a longer names. University.
Turkey, we are patient to listen any long name, don't worry. University of Islamic University of Malaysia, whatever it is. Okay? And anyway, so let's come back to Professor again. So, Yusuf alayhi salam is also the best thing in Yusuf alayhi salam is dream interpretation and forgiveness. The most difficult thing on earth is to forgive someone. And interesting, the Holy Quran is describing situations which might rarely happen in the worst possible way. Sometimes, brothers and sisters can come to each other. But it's very rare that 10 brothers come together and plan to kill the youngest. And the most horrible way. They push him into a dry well so to starve and, die out of thirst. Not Qatul Rahim, they call Arabs, I don't like this word translation. What they translate euthanasia in Arabic, did you hear? Al-Maktub al-Qatul Rahim, the merciful death. I mean, there is no mercy in death, And they pushed him into a dry well. The worst possible scenario, brothers push. After so many years suffering in the prison, he was in the prison, he couldn't see his parents such a long time. And when he saw his brothers in big need, so he was very powerful, he was the king. This time other way around. In the beginning he was small, he was little, helpless. 10 strong brothers pushed him into a dry well, but this time he's the wazir, he's the minister of treasures of Egypt. He has the power, authority over all the treasures. Powerful person. He can kill and keep anyone as he wants. But this time, his 10 brothers, weak, in need, in a foreign country. What did he say? What did he say? Allah say. Please, Ya Allah. لا تثرب عليكم اليوم. لا تثرب عليكم اليوم. He said, there is today no blaming on you at all. I won't accuse you of anything. You are pure and clean. It was Shaitan who made this between you and me. He was blaming Shaitan, taking away this guilt from them and forgiving them, Who can forgive his brothers, his elderly brothers, doing this evil thing to himself? So the Holy Quran is showing us all kinds of things, but also, Prophet ﷺ forgave Wahshi. Wahshi killed Sayyidina Hamza in a worst possible way. He dismembered his stomach and everything. You know that. But still here we can see the Prophet expressed his emotions. He said, "Oh Wahshi, I forgive you, but please, don't come too close to me. Sit somewhere in the back. I don't want to see you that much. Because you remind me of my beloved uncle, the lion of Islam. So please, keep your distance. Okay, I forgive you. No hard feelings, but he expressed emotions, That's interesting, isn't it? He put some boundaries. I don't like putting boundaries around. Do you like in Malaysia? These healthy boundaries. I don't think boundaries are healthy, Brother Jamaluddin. It's the least thing. Yes, we can put boundaries to toxic people. And I get fatwa to toxic parents. Unfortunately, in Islamic world, we have very toxic parents as well, especially in India, Pakistani culture. From where, sister?
Malaysia.
Half India. No,
My father's in
the
Europe.
way they
He's very
treat
good.
women are not very good, you know.
My mother is here.
Yeah, they were burying, we were just talking in the car when we come here. The way things are treated in India, when a husband dies, they were burying the... No, I think it's very logical. Why? You look after husband very well, so he doesn't die early. Is it tricky? But it's horrible, you know, how can you bury a lady along with her husband, you know? So we were just talking this about it, you know. Anyway, do I have some time? Someone remind me of time, please.
I think
5 more minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, I will summarize in 2 hours, inshallah, don't worry. Just give you, because all prophets of the Quran, come on. 5 minutes is injustice to prophets, you know. That can be sin. Second level, oh, horrible things. I'm joking, okay.
10 minutes.
No, 5 minutes is more than enough. We have Ayyub alayhi salam. We have Ayyub alayhi salam. He was so sick. He couldn't, you know, he was so patient, first thing. Resilient. You know, when I say Babashir Sabirin, Sabirin, I translate as resilient. Or tough against calamities. They don't, you know, waver, they don't complain. They are strong. Whenever a calamity comes over a Muslim, a mu'min, they are very strong. Actually, I find people in Gaza, mashallah, strongest people of us, under all kind of horrible, you know, war conditions. They are resilient, they are faithful, no one commits suicide, mashallah. I mean, who will be so much resilient inside under? There is fear, there is hunger, loss of wealth, loss of lives, everything. The chapter I recited to you is now, you know, manifesting in Gaza in the worst possible way. But they are the best Muslims, mashallah. Now, so many people are becoming Muslim, those who teach about resilience, without suffering anything in their lives. Some psychologists people, oh, be resilient, brother, sister. What have you suffered? What did you suffer in your life? Did you lose something? You know, no. So we now see the living example of resilience and sabr in Gaza, and alhamdulillah, inshallah, thousands of people have been martyred. Allah give more and more and more converts to us, we will inshallah gain back. So, Ayyub alayhi salam, so sick. But when these worms went to his heart and tongue, he said, what did he say? He didn't say, oh my Lord, I am so sick, please. No, he didn't say, oh my Lord. Something little touched me. Little bit. It's not that little actually. It was so painful, you know. Imagine all those worms are eating up your body and flesh. Horrible. He said, something little touched me. And you are the best merciful of the merciful. Look what kind of dua he's doing. In a very nice, very kind, you know, way. And of course, Allah gave him health. And the last thing, I will talk about Nuh alayhi salam. Nuh alayhi salam lived 950 years, made dawah all this lifetime, didn't listen to him. And I tell you, the worst thing can happen to you is rejection by your community. And he was patient with that. But he prayed God, Rabbi inni maghlubun fantasir. He said, oh my Lord, I am finished. Please help me finish off these non-believers. And Allah sent, as you know, the flooding. But when his son was drowning, he said, Ya Rab, you promised me to save my family. Now my son is drowning. And what did Allah say? In psychological terms, cut him out. Cut him out from your life. He is not from your family. In Muslim world, we are sometimes very emotional. When our children do something bad, we always feel the pain in our heart. We always keep remembering them. You know, we never forget about them. Oh, my son has done this. My daughter has done that. Sometimes you also should know how to cut out. I taught you Islam. I taught you to be a moral person, but you don't listen to me. It's your choice. What can I do? Sometimes, emotionally, especially mothers, have too much responsibility, you know. Yes, we are not gods. We are not gods, sorry. We cannot control, no, I can't control my son's life, you know. I can't control my wife's life. I can't control my own life, actually. How can I control other people's lives? Therefore, Ibrahim alayhi salam always prayed like, Rabbi ja'alni muqima salati, Prophets are guaranteed, you know. Allah guaranteed them their lives and their iman. But what about their children? No guarantee. Therefore, he always prayed, Rabbi ja'alni muqima salati, Rabbana la taqabbal du'a. There are so many other prophets in my list, but inshallah, there will be other chances and occasions I can talk. Jazakumullah khairan. Any questions? I would like to hear now because it's now fresh. Thank you. But please, easy questions. But please continue.
Okay, anyone? Any question? There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 25.
Okay.
There's a lot more. Obviously, we need one session per prophet, at least.
Oh,
Yeah.
so many sessions for one prophet, not only one.
Not only one, yeah. Now we are squeezing how many into
Because
one?
Musa alayhi salam has so many things, you know, his
Yeah.
fight with Pharaoh,
Yeah.
his resilience against dictator.
Yeah.
And this is the best one, the Prophet ﷺ says. The strongest one is the one who said truth against the dictator. So many things. Story of Qadr. So many things. I thank you very much. Sister
No
Abbas.
question for now? Okay, there you go. Okay, please just mention your name first and then.
I'm Jamila and I'm from IUM,
What's that?
International Islamic University
Just
Malaysia.
Islamic University of Malaysia, okay.
And I would like to get some tips on how to do muhasabah without overly blaming ourselves.
Yes, very good. Very good, very good. Imam Ghazali, in his book, Ihya Ulumuddin, he says, balance, balance, balance. Always, emotions in the balance, not extreme. Some people overblame themselves for everything. They become so naive, they are like, they don't want to go step over an ankle or something. Not that much. But when you make some mistakes, especially Quran and Sunnah are all criteria, you know. So whatever the Quran says, a sin, it's a sin, sorry. So, especially the ones in the Quran, okay, like look after your parents, look after your neighbors, you know, watch your language, watch your, steps. So actually, sometimes it's called hadith al-nafs. If it is too much inner talk, do you talk to yourself sometimes, sister?
Yes.
Lot.
Oh, I talk to myself. I love talking to myself. I said, if you pray nicely, I will give you some chocolate and something. You know. I talk to my car. If you take me to the mosque in time, I will give you some petrol. So it's nice to talk to yourself. But if you talk too much and blame yourself too much, therefore a master is Sufi Sheikh. Is very important. A therapist. You sister, you are doing so and so. It's not nice. When you say, oh, what's wrong with me? No, I am just normal. I'm just getting angry. It's about nature. But the Sheikh will tell you, no, you are over angry. So please stop anger, you know. So calm down. Maybe I am miserly. I don't spend money for my friends. My Sheikh will tell me, bring some money to the Sufi lodge and give some food to your friends. In Sufi lodges, of course, you know, this therapy is not something new. We Muslims have done it for years and thousands of years. When a narcissist person came to a Sufi lodge, what would they do? Like we have a very famous story. Actually, we have a foundation after him. Aziz Mahmud Hudai, Brother Jamaluddin knows him very well. We stay in his guest house. He was the governor of Bursa and the judge. You know, judges in Ottoman times were more important than the kings because they would just give fatwa and overthrow the king. So he was the judge in Bursa. Bursa is a beautiful city. And then he had some problems, narcissism problems. He went to Sufi Lodge. His Sheikh Uftariya gave him the job of cleaning toilets. Oh, come on. A minister come here, can you say, Mr. Minister, can you go and do the washing up there, maybe clean the toilets, and you know, don't worry, we'll give you some tea and coffee later. Come on, you can't do this to a minister. So as to train him and train his narcissism. Actually, recently I was writing a kind of book or article. The psychology was saying, if you have narcissism in your life, just escape. Don't turn back like Musa alayhi salam. Narcissists are so evil people, just escape and don't turn back again. But in Islam we believe, لِكُلِّ دَاءٍ دَوَاءٍ إِلَّا الْمَوْتِ. There is a solution for every material and spiritual sickness except death. So please don't make research centers how to stop death because in vain, people will die. Maybe you can make the life a little bit longer. I find also it's stupid. But after 70, you don't really live properly. You have so many problems with your knees, with your stomach, with your health. It's good to die.
It's good to die.
Yeah. I don't know if you live long and healthy, it's okay. So the Sheikh is your therapist. He will tell you, oh, Imam Ghazali actually is very beautiful. He has 4 grades. He says, the Sheikh is the best. You go at Insan Kamil. Just by seeing you, Insan Kamil smells your nature. Just by seeing you, he can guess all the, vices and virtues. Yeah, I can do that. Especially if when I come home, I understand what she'll tell me. Will she complain or not? I immediately know. Of course, that's not something spiritual. Sufi master. Okay, you don't have a Sufi master. Then Ghazali says, find yourself a good Sadiq or Sadiqa friend. He or she will not tell you lies about you. He or she will tell the truth about you. So buy a notebook and a pen, say, this is my gift to you, please write down whatever you see as advice from me. Teacher, you behave me unkind. You are so and so, miserly. You are aggressive. When you drive, you are aggressive, So, from time to time, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was doing this. He's also the Sahaba. Whenever they were asking, what do you say about this series? And check yourself. Well, of course, it's very difficult to find a friend like this. Normally we praise, oh, sister, you are mashallah, more beautiful than yesterday. Oh, you're always good to me. No, not like this. We should say the truth, but in a very kind and nice way. In privacy, of course. If you are telling you, sister, you are very bad. It's not like giving therapy, You're insulting someone. So the third thing he says, sister, listen to your rivals. People who don't like you. Do you have any rivals in your life? Probably. Normally in Turkey, mother-in-laws are good rivals. Also, sister-in-laws. Your husband's brother's wife, sister-in-law, so you know these stories. So, listen what they say about you. Yes, they always search for your little mistakes. This is good for you. You can enjoy it and you can correct yourself. And he says, you will be your enemy. Like the Malaysian maybe. Like we have Greeks. I think Greeks here. Some nations have some adversaries, like Turks have Greeks and Armenians have adversaries. So listen to them, what they say. The Turks are lazy people, They always come late. They don't keep their promises. It's good for you. Don't get angry. Don't be defensive. Just take the advice. And the last sister, Imam Ghazali says, I love Imam Ghazali. There's answer in Imam Ghazali here for any question and every question, almost. He says, The last thing you can learn your mistakes, go to marketplaces, go to gatherings like this. Anything which disturbs you, don't do it. Like, let's say, like giving away tea and coffee here, and some of us grab the, and some of us didn't have, for example. Half of us grab the tea and biscuits maybe, and the other half went without tea. So don't do it. Don't take the tea, let the other person take it. Whatever makes you angry in any gathering, someone's sitting, someone's talking, someone's talking too much like me, don't do it. Just stop it. Isn't it nice? Imam Ghazali is giving us a free psychology lesson. Therefore, I am teaching Ghazali in all my classes, in all levels. Undergraduate, I teach Ihya. Masters, I teach Ihya. Postgraduate, doctorate, I teach Ihya. Over different levels. But Ihya is such a beautiful book. Also, Rumi, I love Rumi. Unfortunately, I haven't today. Shall I tell a story of Rumi? Serious? You want it? But afterwards, okay. Next time, inshallah. Very good. Thank you.
I do not know there was like 2 questions, but quick one, yeah, because we have to take a break, so then you get to stand up, and there are some drinks and food already here, while Brother Seyed will get his stuff. Okay, quick question.
You mentioned my name is Rosie, I'm a housewife. You mentioned sheikhs earlier. How would you position the role of sheikh and murshids and tariqah movement within the Islamic psychological framework? Is it imperative for us to find a murshid
Very good question.
and a tariqah?
I find every tariqah as a psychological paradigm, therapy, different methods of therapy. Like we are cognitive therapy, we are this therapy, we are that therapy. Like Rumi, Mevlevi is music therapy. You make sama and you listen to music, beautiful music, you become spiritual. Naqshbandi don't like music. It's in contemplation, calmness, meditation. Rifaiya, anyone knows about Rifaiya? They make shish kebabs. They make Allah, and stab each other. You think that? It's very nice, very good. Not for you, for ladies. Good for men. An aggressive man, should do that. So you feel relaxed, after being stabbed. Have you seen this? It's beautiful. The sheikh comes, Bismillah, licks, and there is no wound, no bleeding. Unbelievable. That shows the power of zikr. When you make so much zikr, the body becomes like immune to pain. I have seen even stupid thing in Iraq, they are shooting weapons off. But they are showing the power of zikr. So it's not obligatory to everyone. Imam Ghazali says almost like this. Check your life. If you think you have no mistakes, go tariqah, no spiritual training. But if you have mistakes, then it's farz ayn. And unfortunately, the trouble is today, entering tariqah, it is finding good tariqah.
Yes.
That's the problem. It's finding a good sheikh who will not abuse his power. That's the problem. And I know in the part of India, you have Kufi Sufis. Sufi Kufi, you call it? All kind of funny things happening there, Too much music, too much dancing, extreme. And a lot of miracles. I have friends in UK, some of them said there is a city upside down. I said, do you believe that? They believe everything in India, all kind of miracles. I say, to go to east from Turkey, people become more mystical. The more you go to west, logical. You must find the balance between heart and mind. If the sheikh is telling us something bad, we shouldn't do it. There is Islamic law. If people tell you something immoral and against Sharia, you don't follow this commandment. The sheikh, the teacher, the mufti, even parents, isn't it? Allah says if they command you shirk, you should respect your parents, but there's a limitation. Thank you.
Okay, just one last one, because the person just now, I saw a hand behind. Was it? No, not me.
Can I
Oh, okay, just one, yeah? After this, you're going to solve, and then maybe you can catch Prof. Suleyman. He will not eat. You can just ask him a question.
Okay, I know. There's a story in Turkey. when imams would eat, like scholars like us, we would eat like nice and strong. And some of them would ask another imam, can you tell us the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, so as to keep you busy? Of course, few times he said the story. It's a very long story, and he was starving.
No, we will
Another time they
will not
asked,
do that.
oh Hoja, can you tell us the story of Yusuf? He said, he fell in the well and he went out. End of story.
Okay, just a quick question. Introduce yourself
My
first.
name is Nazira, also from IIU and
Is a, what is
Islam
the,
University.
okay.
Yes,
Why don't you say Islam University?
Yeah,
It's
they.
better.
It's a university.
You know how I say?
You're economical people.
I don't know.
On work, on money, okay.
Okay, my question is, you talked about boundaries just now. I'm a clinical psychologist. Many times that out of work, friends and friends of friends would call, like would message, text, and ask you to talk or meet outside. So you want to help as much as you can, but there seems to be no full stop. Like all the time.
The person is narcissist, they love to abuse you. Sister, can you come and cook for me? Sister,
No,
can
about mental health problems. They would consult me. Can I just have 10 minutes of your time to talk about my husband or whatever, or myself? Yeah. So of course people will come, and there are times when I would say come to my clinic, but there are many times that we take our private time to do that. So how do we
Sister,
how do we
please sacrifice your life for the Ummah. Please. Don't say come to my clinic, you know. We are spiritual teachers, yes, we are clinicians. I am a professor in the university. We should try best to help Ummah whenever there is a case. It might be terrible in the of course you have kids and you have your own responsibilities, yes. There's something else. Even you have a little bit free time, we should work for the Ummah because we are hunters of goodness. When we die in the hereafter, we will be pity for things we didn't do. Oh my Lord, set me back. Let me give some money. It is a infaq, sadaqah. But your sadaqah is not money. Your sadaqah is your. You say assist her something good, make her happy, solve her problem. It's better than giving her money. If you give me $100, I spend it one day. You give me a good advice, I will be praying for you my lifetime. So please, as long as it doesn't disturb your other obligations as a mother, as a wife, as something,
Doesn't burn you down.
don't make, of course, don't think, some people, on the other hand, they love to put all the burden on you. Like your family members, for example. Of course, we must be careful sometimes. Thank you.
Yeah, must be careful also.
But you must come to my clinic, this is very special.
But I think coming from a Islamic perspective, because normally, conventionally, we will say even for doctors, medical doctors, there's always you go to a wedding, somebody will stop you and ask you about
Very.
something. Yeah. But and also clinical psychologists and all. I think by coming from the Islamic perspective, this is the first time I'm hearing somebody say, "Do it, sister, do it."
Yeah, do it.
Just this is your sadaqah, this is your.
This is professionalism.
Yeah, I guess that's true,
Did
but
Prophet ever say,
I love that answer.
oh, companion, I am busy now, come later.
yeah.
I am on holiday today, I am off day. Did Prophet have any off days in his life? And there's a hadith. Actually, some people became Muslim because of that. The son of this Thai, he said, I followed the Prophet to his house. He took me to his house. On the way, an old lady kept him talking like an hour. If I were you, I would listen to this old lady. I would tell him, come later, I am busy now, go and so and so. And this hadith, if a little slave girl took the hand of Prophet, she would take him anywhere she wanted. The Prophet had very little, as you know, Allah was defending him. People came to his house, he was newly married, and they kept talking, they had eaten their food and kept talking. And Allah said, when you eat, don't say too much. So Allah was protecting him. Please, this Western culture is too bad on us. We become stingy, not only money, we have money too much, we can give it away, on our time, on our, other saw you in a gathering, she just has no power or no money or no time or no family, support to come to you, to your clinic. So please, my opinion of her, my modest opinion, and my opinion of my friend Jamaluddin, he's even more sacrificial. I am trying to stop him now. I said, Brother Jamal, you are so helpful, so thoughtful. Somebody invited here to his house. Jamaluddin says, oh, we should come to us. Look, let them come to us. We have no cars here, we don't know the public transport. So, contemplative, mashallah, we should go to so-and-so house. This so-and-so has a car and driver, has everything. They should come and pick up us, isn't it, sister? Sometimes this is overthinking, like Brother Jamal to do it. Of course, if he's defending now himself, he will blame. Salam alaikum.
Okay, so
trials I went through, that's when I felt closest to the true nature of my heart and His testimony of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the fiqh. It was then that I felt closest to my soul and His connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the wasila, the connector that it is. However, as time passes, time can also show its double-edged nature, an allusion to the double-edged sword as a proverb that defines something that has or can have both favorable and unfavorable consequences. As time passes again, without proper safeguards, this could lead one to the state of hafla, forgetfulness, once more. When normalcy strikes back and things start to settle down, that one tends to forget what one has been through, and one perhaps begins to engage in one's ibadah and worship as a routine again, a routine of the limbs rather than of the heart. The cry of the heart to its Lord, felt during the time of tribulation, is now a voice of the past as we continue our walk in the dunya, without being in a constant state of dhikr, shukr, and tafakkur, muraqabah. Am I a hypocrite? The scholars used to talk about the ritual acts and worships of the hypocrites, which are performed only outwardly without any inner form of virtue to live in and give one's worship, and inner meaning and dimension, zahir, the seen, versus the ba'atin, which is the inner. From being connected to my heart's true nature, I realized that time can both connect one to one's heart's essence, but without proper safeguards, time can also lead one to the state of hafla once more. So brothers and sisters, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I always felt closest to Allah when I go through struggles. And it's not because we're asking for struggles, honestly. Right? We're not asking Allah, please give me a struggle, please punish me, please put me in a situation where I can feel hurt or pain. Of course not. We're not asking for it. We're not masochists. But we know that this is part of life. To go through trials and tribulations is part of life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests those that He loves most. We know that from the stories of the Anbiya, the prophets, right? And we know that this is this is dunya. This dunya is not perfect. Perfection is in akhirah, in Jannah. Hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant all of us Jannah, inshallah. We will unite and do lectures there, inshallah, without no pain. With that said, for me, it's always been a reflection to not take things for granted. Because if we have health, suddenly we take it for granted, right? And suddenly, headache strikes, or ulcers strikes, or IBS strikes, or whatever, flu strikes, and then suddenly like, wait a minute, I appreciate when I have health. Ya Allah, please forgive me. Give me health again. Alhamdulillah. So I think we all have relationship to this, all right? And there's one amazing scholar, and our beloved teacher, Professor Suleyman Derin. I'm very honored to do lectures and workshops with him. He's such an amazing scholar. And all of our scholars in Islamic psychology, many of them part of ISIP's advisory board, they're amazing scholars. So this is knowledge from our scholars. So he has done one of his focus areas in studying Ibn Ajiba. Ibn Ajiba is a Moroccan Sufi scholar, and he says the following with regards to trials and tribulations. If the real reveals himself to us, to you by his divine name Al-Jalil, the majestic, or by his name Al-Qahar, the all-powerful, and has opened to you a door and a perspective through which he may be known thereby, know then that God has taken special care of you and has desired to choose you for His presence, to single you out for His presence. He inflicts upon him tribulation until he becomes upright and purified and becomes fit for the divine presence, just as silver and gold are purified by fire for the treasures of kings. So what Ibn Ajiba says here is truly remarkable, right? So when we put iron in the fire, what happens with the iron? We forge it, right? The iron becomes stronger, right? And that's exactly what pain or trials or tribulations are meant for us, according to Ibn Ajiba, that it's like the fire that makes us strong when we survive, right? And hopefully we all survive the struggles that we go through. So why God? Why pain? The theodicy of suffering. So theodicy, dear sisters and brothers, is the studies of understanding the notion and the nature of good and evil. All right? Historically, in the Muslim world, we didn't have any issues with this. Muslims never have issues of understanding what is bad, what is good. This is actually something that comes from the Christian tradition. All right? The Islamic tradition never questioned that good and bad existed, but bad is actually not bad. Because from the Islamic point of view, we don't attribute the bad to Allah. We know obviously that everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Good, bad, everything is from Allah. We're not dualistic, right? There are dualistic religions like Taoism, for instance, that are dualistic religions, right? But we are not dualistic. We believe in omnipotent God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything comes from Him. But out of a husnul dhan billah, there are 3 levels of husnul dhan, right? Husnul dhan means positive thinking. So 3 levels of husnul dhan billah, good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Husnul dhan bil nas, good opinion of us, right? I have good opinion of you guys, mashallah. You guys are all very wonderful. Hopefully you can have good opinion of me as well, inshallah. Try my best to serve. And then we have husnul dhan bil nas, good opinion of ourselves. We're going to go through all this, inshallah. So out of our husnul dhan billah, we have good opinion of Allah. Because it's one of the worst sins to have bad opinion of Allah. This is a vice in Islamic tradition and in Islamic psychology. We don't attribute the bad to Allah. We attribute it to us having so much shortcomings that we don't understand the goodness of it. It's our shortcoming, right? So we don't attribute, but everything comes from Allah, right? So theodicy is the study of good and evil, right? And deals with the issue of explaining God's existence, more precisely how God can be both perfectly good and all-powerful when there is simultaneously evil and suffering in the world. So a proposed solution, dear sisters and brothers, to a theodicy notion is called theodicy. For instance, we have that in the world as a way for us to understand what is good. That is a theodicy notion. We're explaining a theodicy. And in therapeutic practice, so I'm a counselor, it's very helpful. I've seen it with a lot of my clients when we give them theodicy notion, but you need to be very gentle when you give this type of interventions. Do not do it directly because you might be spiritually bypassing it, right? Or psychologically. But we will go through that later. Within Islamic thought, until modern time, we have never had so-called theodicy issues. This is something that has come with the Judeo-Christian notion and secular tradition. Because in the secular tradition, because they don't believe in God or something metaphysical, it's like, why is it bad? I mean, you know. And then you have so-called secular spirituality, which is feeling good. Hallelujah, more power to you. I maintain set frame in my mind. Okay, never mind. I'm a former rapper. I like to rap sometimes. So it's only like, Hakuna Matata, all these things. And I love Hakuna Matata. This is a beautiful tradition, but they secularize it, right? Let's hold our hands, feeling good. No, we feel God. We feel God, we don't, and in that we feel good, right? Being good without being with God for us doesn't exist, right? So the issue of understanding bad evil is a secular issue that has indirectly influenced our minds as well. And the classical Islamic theologians, they sought to explain the phenomena of transient pain and suffering by investigating whether human beings can obtain moral knowledge on pure reason or mental, right? And according to the theologians, moral facts such as good and evil are not ontological features of this world and do not have an ontological reality. Rather, moral facts correspond to God's commands and prohibitions. That is, good is what we reward, what reward is attached to it, right? And evil is what punishment is attached to it. All right? So therefore, God cannot, nice to see you. Therefore, God cannot be attributed with evil, and what is considered evil is relative to the subjective experiences of the person from which they cannot transcend. As moral facts are only knowable through Scripture, through Wahi, God is the source of true moral knowledge. Right? And to make a claim that God allows absolute evil is to assume that we have access to moral knowledge as God sees it, and that we know all the variables as God knows them. So a distinction is therefore made between absolute evil and pain and suffering in this world. This is very beautiful to reflect upon practice. Right? Because first and foremost, we don't know morality without Wahi. So who are we to put any place? I think Professor Derin, when he speaks about boundaries, and he was questioning it, I understand where he comes from. Now, I'm not against boundaries. Sharia puts the boundaries. This is the problem. If we internalize Western notions of boundaries, then some of the boundaries might be congruent, might be applicable to Quran and Sunnah, but some of them are not. So we need to be very wise and always use Wahi as the source that gives us Sahih, that gives us the truth. what is boundaries. So for instance, I have a friend, he has a daughter, and in Sweden, the school system and the kindergarten system is very simple, okay? So his daughter went to kindergarten, and they're teaching them, boundaries and stuff. And then she comes back home, and her father, obviously, who is a mother or father here? Raise your hand. Everybody was mother. We want to give a kiss to our daughter or something. That's okay, right? So he wants to give a kiss to his daughter, and she says, "My body, my choice. I don't want that." This is true. And imagine the pain in the father, and obviously this is not the daughter's side. Now, this is a very extreme position, right? On so-called boundaries, extreme boundaries. On the other end, we do have in our culture, and I am allowed to speak about Iran. I am from Iran, so if we have any Iranians here, I am allowed to speak about, I don't speak about other countries, I am allowed to speak about Iran. I'm a Sunni from Iran, by the way. I always need to say that. I'm Sunni. Actually, Ustad Jamaluddin is interviewing me on this podcast. We're going to speak about Ahl Sunnah's history of Iran. This is one of my research areas. I'm writing a book about Sunni history of Iran. Now, I am Hanafi, but I love the Shafis as well. Imam Ghazali was Shafi, Shams Tabrizi was Shafi. Did you guys know that? And Rumi was Hanafi. All right. So essentially, the other extreme is in the Persian culture. Like my grandmother, when I was child, she gave me a dashko, this pinching. I wonder what's hurting me. This is her way to show love. That we need boundaries there. That is hurtful. So Islam is a middle ground. So of course we can criticize secular ideas, but there is some urf that is not good in Islamic culture. So, by the way, urf means culture. Brother Penny, I'm going to translate the words for you so that it's there. All right. We had a but this or its like. So what is considered good and evil is based on the outcome of the occurrence. What is the outcome? All right? That is the degree of benefit or harm that it results in for the human being, which is determined by human beings. Once more, we have free will. Of course, the free will is under Allah's will, but we still have the feeling of free will. It's only a feeling, by the way. It's not free will. Actually, one of my teachers, Sheikh Ahmed, he said, we don't have free will. And it's true, right? But it's a feeling, okay? And that we get the feeling of hurt or harm, right? So it is us at the end of the day, even though it's under Allah, right? And that is something that we need to have wahi to understand what is good or bad, right? So there are still two questions that remain, dear brothers and dear sisters. Please forgive me, brothers. It's difficult for me to, I try to do this and this. I wish I could have eyes like a hawk, I could watch like that. So two questions still remain. One, why does God allow pain and suffering? And two, what is the purpose of pain and suffering? So, if we try to answer the first question, Islamic theology has made a distinction between God's will and what He creates into existence and His love and what He prefers and is pleased with. Alright? So it's precisely because God's ability to create everything into existence that He is all-powerful, and it is because of God's love that the suffering that people go through, for example, refugees, people that are oppressed, our beloved brothers and sisters in Palestine, or East Turkestan, or Myanmar, or Sudan, should be alleviated as a command and amal, and that the perpetrator is held accountable for the choices. So God Almighty states in the Holy Quran, indeed, Allah orders justice and good conduct and giving the relatives and forbids immorality and bad conduct and oppression. He admonishes you that perhaps you will be reminded. So, harmful actions, and it's, in this case, the existence of pain and suffering someone had undergone on the hands of other human beings is a consequence of free will. Right? If free will was constrained to remove pain and suffering that occur from human being, then we will not be free will. So one cost of free will is that we will feel pain and suffering. Because the angels doesn't have free will. So they don't feel pain or suffering or happiness and sa'adat, right? So can we do a Fatiha for Sister Lorraine's mother, please? And with that, let's ask for shifa for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that Sister Lorraine's mother, inshallah. So let's make a Fatiha, and please make dua for shifa for her mother, inshallah. We really appreciate you, dear Sister Lorraine, for being here, even though we're going through this. And the beautiful talk you gave, that the family step up, is truly beautiful. This is ISIP's way. We are like a family. So So essentially, free will allow us a lot of goodness, but it will give us pain. The pain of, seeing our parents suffer. Our parents are beautiful, right? Our pain of seeing our children suffer. The pain of seeing Palestinians suffering, right? Now, the second question was, what is the purpose of pain and suffering, right? So the purpose of pain and suffering, according to Ibn Taymiyyah, explains, by the way, Ibn Taymiyyah is very misunderstood, just so you know. He was not against tasawwuf, just so you guys know. He was against some I don't want to call lazy, some people that didn't follow Sharia. And actually, in that sense, we can agree with some of his criticism. Now, I don't agree with all the things of Ibn Taymiyyah, but I think he's very good when it comes to speaking of theology. I recommend you guys to read his book about theology. It's an amazing book. So Ibn Taymiyyah explains, as part of the order of this world, because they serve God's wise purpose for his creation as he is all wise. And he speaks about pain and suffering like this. Some servants may know some of God's wise purpose, and what is hidden from it may be hidden from them. People are favored over others in knowledge of his wise purpose, his mercy, and his justice. Each time the servant increases in knowledge of the realities of things, he increases in knowledge of God's wise purpose, his justice, his mercy, and his power. So a person increases in spiritual excellence by trusting God Almighty more than himself, and becomes receptive to spiritual openings. So to achieve an intimate station or maqam with Allah is to undergo spiritual purification through the cultivation of virtues. A person can achieve a heightened awareness of the reality of God by tasting the imperfections of the reality of this world through pain and suffering. We can look at pain and suffering like, who likes to play with jigsaw here? You like jigsaw, right? Yeah. MashaAllah. So nice to see you, man. Can I give you a hug before I continue? Nice to see you. MashaAllah. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So, who likes jigsaws? Yeah, I love jigsaw. Sometimes when we play with jigsaws, you have to push it in, Oh, come on. But then you see the fuller picture afterwards. And you say, wow, what beautiful it is, right? But in the moment, you're trying to figure out, where should I put this piece? And where should I put this piece, right? And then sometimes the piece is not perfectly matched, and then you try to push it in, right? So pain and suffering is like the edges of the jigsaw, the hard edges of the jigsaw, which is the hard edges of life. But fully, when we take a bird's eye view and see when we put all the jigsaw in place, we will say, okay, I went through that trial because now I see the full picture. Does it make sense when we look at it like that? There's something in psychology called metacognition. Metacognition means to be able to think about your thoughts. Or meta-emotion is to be able to feel your feelings. So in the first moment when you're going through a struggle, it's difficult, right? Like, I don't understand, right, Ustad? I don't understand. Why am I in this, What is the meaning of this? What is the benefit of this? But then, as we put all the jigsaws in place, and that might take time, right? Then we, aha. Do you guys, have you ever felt the aha moment? Everybody say, aha, come on. Aha. When that aha comes, it's like, wow. And you get, look, I'm Iranian, I get a lot of response. You see? I don't know, in Malaysia, you don't have this, right? Alhamdulillah. It's from Allah. So, the thing is, when aha comes, it's like, they call it Eureka moment, I think, in English. Eureka moment? Is it a Eureka moment? Eureka, sorry. Eureka moment. It's like, aha, right? But that takes time. Don't push yourself to get that moment. Allah will give you that moment when you least expect. But sometimes we're like, I need to get it now, I need it. And that's when you're stuck in the grief. And I will speak about that later. Alright. Pain and suffering are necessary because things are known by their opposites. Wow. That's amazing. A person in a perpetual state of pleasure cannot understand the concept of pleasure because he has not experienced or she has not experienced pain to consciously understand the state he or she is in. And Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, who loves Imam Ghazali? Everybody says Imam Ghazali. He's from Iran, by the way. He is. I am proud of it. He's a Sufi from Iran. We're going to speak about it too. Imam Ghazali explains, health is not enjoyed without illness. The blessed in paradise would not know their blessedness without hell, and perfection is not known without imperfection. Do you like baklava in Malaysia? Baklava, you like baklava? Halwa, you like it?
Very expensive.
It's very expensive. Malaysia, you need to do business here. Our colleague, she's from Turkey, she lives here. How can you know that baklava is sweet if you don't know what is sour? Right? You know it's sweet because you tasted lemon before, and lemon is sour. When you tasted chips, and that's salt. Right? So we need to know the opposite. And this is actually interesting because this is the difference between the Christian tradition and the Islamic tradition. Obviously, I am proud of being a Muslim. I'm unapologetic with that, but I respect Christians and Buddhists and Jews. Of course, we need to have interfaith dialogue. We live in this world. But I am a proud Muslim. So the Muslim tale or the story of Adam alayhi salam is not of a sin. He didn't come to Jannah because he did a sin. The Christian tradition actually has it. He came with a sin. Right? That's the difference, because Muslim and Islamic notion of man is positive. Because we're all born in the state of fitra, we're pure. Tawheed, right? So why was Adam put down on earth? Because he needed to do suluk now. And what is suluk is to spiritually waver as a way to mindfully come back to Allah. Because when he was made in Jannah, right, he was not mindful that this is Jannah. He was not mindful that he's only good. He needed to come to dunya, right? And then we are his children, right? Professor Suleyman Derin said when people say they're, Sharif or Sayyid or, obviously it's an honor to be, Ahlul Bayt, to be surrounded by Ahlul Bayt, but, obviously he has a point, in the sense that, we shouldn't, worship people in that sense. Nevertheless, we're all the children of Adam, right? So, in a sense, our father, Adam alayhi salam, he went to dunya as a way to mindfully come back to the happiness to connect with Allah. So he was forgiven by Allah because he did tawbah, but he was put on earth to mindfully come. And that is the thing. What is it between mindful and non-mindful? Right? What is the thing between mindful and non-mindful? Let me explain. When children are born in a state of fitra, they're not mindful of that. They don't know. Because they haven't experienced anything else. So they don't know that this is fitra. They just know love. They don't know what the opposite of love is. So, if you don't taste the opposite, how can you know it's love? Right? I do marriage counseling. Sometimes I say to the couples, it's good that you taste some friction, because then you might know what is non-friction. And actually life is all about friction. When we walk, it's friction. Without friction, you cannot live. This is true. Water is created through friction, right? So, in a sense, that's how we can understand that. When we reconnect to fitra, this is our whole journey as Muslims, is to reconnect to fitra through our suluk and spiritual welfare in dunya, right? But when we reconnect, we're doing it mindfully, right? And we're not going back to a child state. We're on a higher maqam than children, actually. What children doesn't understand, right? So, one way of us mindfully reconnecting to fitra is to taste the opposite of it. Jealousy, pain, suffering, oppression. Now, obviously, we don't ask for it, as I said, but that is one way of thinking about it. So, one person accepts pain and suffering as a part of the order of this world. There is an existential recognition, which goes beyond the question of why. That undergoing pain and suffering is simply confronting reality at its hardest edges. This small aspect of reality is part of a greater reality in which pain and suffering are created for God's wise purpose for creation. So, what is the role of suffering from a fitra-centric lens? Right? So, as we know, the fitra is our primordial state, all right, of pure disposition and witnessing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His divine names and attributes, al-Asma al-Husna. And this is part of our fitra. This knowledge is an imprint on our soul. So in our fitra we have this knowledge. It's understand comfort, power, because they've been in comfort. So as soon as the mom takes the child, they understand that's comfort, right? So these are things that is imprinted in our fitra, the things that are jamali in life, the things that are jalali in life. So jamali is the beauty and jalali is the majestic, right? And that's in our souls, right? And as we come into the dunya, into the world, right, we are in a state of pure fitra and connection to tawheed and oneness through His divine names, Allah's divine names, right? But when we grow in dunya, we go from a state of connecting ourselves to the oneness, right, to duality, which we can also call individuation, right? What do we mean by individuation? You become I. And we need to become I. Sometimes I say, astaghfirullah, break the nafs. Actually, the nafs is not bad. Nafs is good. Everything Allah gave you is good. Nafs is good. Without the nafs, you will not, what will you be? You will not be a human. So we have a nafs, right? Even the awliya have nafs, but they have worked with their nafs on such a level that it's not affecting them, right? So, the primary wound, as part of the duality, is the separation from fitra. That's a wound. That's why, what is the first thing a child does when she or he is born? I ask the sisters, because you guys are the ones who gave birth. What is the first thing that a child does? Or the fathers, what was the first thing that you guys witnessed when your child was born? Crying. What? Comfort is gone. It's the first love. Wait, they don't know what fitra is. I was in pure happiness. What's happening? Who are these people? Who's this bearded guy? You know? Who's this mother? You know, what is this? You know, wow, what is that? You know, we don't know. Because they're coming to dunya, and that's the first step of individuation. You're becoming I. And crying comes because that's the womb, right? Until mom takes the child, right? And then the child feels, suitedness, right? So that's the first projection of the primary loss. You project your longing to fitra on your mom, right? And that projection leads to something of a comfort for a moment. Until you understand your mom is not perfect. I'm sorry, sisters, but nobody's perfect. I love my mom. You guys are great mothers, all of you who are mothers. Obviously, mothers are not perfect because perfection is only in Allah, right? So nobody's perfect. So after a while, the child understands, I'm screaming, my mom is not responding all the time. What's happening? Then they start to project their longing to fitra to the father. But then the father takes, wait, my father has heavy chest. This is not comfort, right? These Iranians are like that. I remember my daughter always hated to me holding her like that. So, and then you project it to other things. And then you go through life like that. You project on things as a way to soothe the primary loss, So these are all transition objects. The mom is a transition object. The father is a transition. Because ultimately our whole meaning of life is to reconnect with Allah. That's why when we say Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, what does that mean? We came from Allah, we're going back to Allah. That is the whole aspect of life, according to Islamic tradition. Right? So, these transition objects, right, could also be pain and suffering. Right? And sometimes the transition objects that we project our longing to fitra can be so maladaptive that it could become drugs. You know Gabor Mate, I love Gabor Mate actually. Let's bring him here together. Gabor Mate, he says about heroinists. You know heroinists, people, do you have a lot of drug addiction in Malaysia? Is it a lot? Yeah. So may Allah make it easy. We should be compassionate with the people. I am of that notion that, a lot of these people that are drug addicts, these are people that didn't have the hug of the mother. I have a lot of I'm raised in Sweden. People think Sweden is the country of polar bears and everybody's peaceful. It's very difficult to live there as a Muslim, I can tell you. When I come, it's a breath of fresh air to come to this beautiful country of Malaysia. So in Sweden, a lot of the Muslims are segregated and discriminated and put in these outskirts of the town. And there you have a lot of street gangs. Many of my childhood friends die by gang-related violence or by drugs. Even in France, it's the same situation in Germany, right? But these are good kids. That's why one of the things we want to do in ISIP is to work with the Futu Academy. And I want to invite you all to join. Sacred womanhood for the sisters, sacred manhood for the brothers. Because we have the solution in our tradition when it comes to dealing with modernity's issues of masculinity. Then my friends had toxic masculinity, not because they were toxic, because masculinity is not toxic. Culture is toxic, that influences masculinity, right? So they didn't have a mom to get home and get a hug. They couldn't share their emotions because they didn't have any good male role model. And then that led to these addictions, right? Because the drug, Gabor Mate says, when the heroinist takes that drug, it's like a hug of a mom. SubhanAllah, like it is truth in that actually, and may Allah guide all these brothers and sisters to Sirat al-Mustaqim and to Islam. Nevertheless, this is a very compassionate way of looking at it. So our suluk is important here, so that we don't go there. We need tarbiyah, we need education, we need ta'alim, right? So when we enter into the state of taklif, which is to be accountable towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this happens when we come to the age of puberty. Then before that, we're not accountable. You can essentially do whatever, you're not accountable in front of God's eyes. Yeah. We go into the spiritual wayfaring, the suluk. The suluk we do through what? Mujahadat al-nafs, which is to fight your nafs. Tazkiyat al-nafs, which is to purify your nafs. Nafs is the self or the ego or the self, right? And riyadat al-nafs, which is to punish or oppress your nafs. I actually like to use the word diplomacy of the nafs. Sometimes you need to be diplomatic with your nafs. Right? You can give it some carrots. Okay, here nafs, you get some carrots here. Eat that. Take it easy. We call it siyasat nafs. Right? So the suluk helps you to come back to fitra. Layers of socializing and experiences and social conditioning creates the duality. So we need trials and tribulation to create the duality. Okay. Opposite, good, bad, right? Necessary also in order to consciously or mindfully, all right, reconnect, and the uncovering process of fitra, we need pain. All right? Now, the accumulation of dunyani, worldly experiences, enables us to return to the divine witnessing. It gives us a deeper appreciation of the primordial experience of divine witnessing. But this is a cyclical process in an elevated form. Life is cyclical. We start in fitra, we end in fitra, but it's not an end position like 0. It's 10, and then you go to 20, and then you go to 30, and then you go to 40, and some people go to 1,000. This is also the notions in tasawwuf that speak about fana, right? Fana means annihilation, right? So you have 3 aspects of fana. First is fana fil shaykh. You need a shaykh to break down your nafs. The traditional shuyukh is what essentially we're doing some counseling in that role today. But we are not shuyukh, obviously. We're just companions. But they help you with your nafs. So fana fil shaykh is to trust your shaykh. Obviously, you cannot trust all shaykh. There are righteous shaykh, alhamdulillah. I trust my shaykh, alhamdulillah. He's a righteous shaykh, alhamdulillah. But there are people that has been hurt by shuyukh as well. Obviously, you need to be mindful of that, right? Then the second is fana fil Quran. And actually, that could be the first. These are not like elevated 1, 2, 3, okay? I'm just saying it. It is to submit to Quran. That is ultimately your shaykh. But without guidance, you cannot understand the Quran fully, right? There are these Quranists today that are rejecting Sunnah. Have you heard about them? These are the modern liberal aspect, very problematic. How are you going to practice Quran if you don't have Sunnah? So you need fana fil Quran, and in that fana fil shaykh, and in that is fana fil Muhammad. That is the Sunnah, right? And obviously, we know that the prophetic example is the best example, right? Because he is insan al-kamil, a perfected person. And finally, fana fil Allah is that when you're in such a high spiritual state or maqam, then you can annihilate this. It doesn't mean that you become one with Allah. This is not the issue. You are just so connected with Allah that your nafs doesn't take you astray. It's a connection. Right? These are only in the realms of those who are awliya, those who are saints of Allah. Other people in the scheme like myself, I don't think I will ever come there. Allah. So, why I'm saying this is because duality is important for this. Cyclical process is important because some people think Sirat al-Mustaqim is straightforward. No, it's like this. It's like, some people think that, I just reconnect to fitra. No. Well, our nafs has so many layers. Nafs al-amara bin su, which is the nafs that is inclined to evil. We need to pass through that to nafs al-lawama. Nafs al-lawama is strong. Nafs al-lawama is really strong. Nafs al-lawama is the reproachable self. And nafs al-lawama has multiple features, right? And actually, you need to be careful with nafs al-lawama. It's a great nafs, but you need to be careful because if it's overactivated, then it becomes pathology, OCD. OCD is a result of overactive nafs al-lawama. Nafs al-lawama is the reproachable self. It gives you tarbiyah, right, Mustafa? You're a doctor in your university, so you give tarbiyah to the students, right? And I'm sure you're using nafs al-lawama, and the students' nafs al-lawama is alerted when they get, tarbiyah, right? So nafs al-lawama is the reproachable self. It gives you guidance, right? According to Freud, by the way, Freud took a lot from distance, but he's distorted it a lot, So super ego is nafs al-lawama in a sense, right? So nafs al-lawama guides you. So this is the voice, and it has 2 features. One feature is warning. Sister Nusayba, have you ever heard a voice where it says to you, don't do that, right? That's voice, Don't eat that baklava, it's not that good, right? So that is the warning, and that's very helpful. But if you don't listen to the warning, then the next step comes, which is the blame. For instance, Jamaluddin, why did you do it? I warned you, but you didn't. You ate that baklava, you're gluten allergic, now you're going to have issues with your stomach. And I did it yesterday, by the way. I ate this because it was so delicious. So then the blaming comes. And blaming is good. In the sense that if you do tawbah, khalas, go back. But then, if it's too overactive and it starts to blame things with things that are not haram, like people that have OCD, they're thinking things are problematic that are haram, then it becomes a pathology, right? And for people that are frozen in grief and in sorrow and pain and cannot release it in a healthy way or process it in a healthy way, then their nafs al-lawwama is overactive. And that brings a lot of pathology. I'm going to speak about that. So why not perpetual state of felicity? Because dunya and the experience of duality gives us something that measures felicity by, and that is by suffering its opposite. Plain and simple. Now, it's not simple when you're into it, right? Sister, have you ever felt pain and suffering? Yeah, you don't need to say it to me what. I'm just asking, right? It's very difficult in the beginning, right, sister? Right? Yeah. Sorry, I put people on the spot, but I like to speak with people. Let me speak with the brothers, maybe easier. Brother Arif, have you ever felt pain and suffering? Yeah. In the moment when you feel it, it's very difficult in the first beginning, right? But after a while, right? Some wisdom comes, right? Yeah. Yeah, realizing. Normalizing. Desensitization, exactly. And this goes to something called ambiguous loss. So I'm going to connect this to the ambiguous loss theory, okay? Ambiguous loss is defined as a loss that occurs when you're not able to process a loss, or there is no likelihood of reaching emotional closure or clear understanding of the loss. All right? This leads a person to search for answers, which delays the process of grieving and results in unresolved grief. This is called frozen grief. Frozen grief. All right? There are two types of ambiguous loss. One is physical loss. You lose somebody physically. So physical ambiguous loss means, for example, that the body of a loved one. This is the case in Palestine right now. Also in Bosnia. You guys, may Allah bless Malaysia. You guys supported the Bosnians in the massacres, in the genocide. I know that actually. Great. Inshallah, this will never happen again. I have a lot of Bosnian friends. Because in Sweden, we have a lot of Bosnian refugees. And a lot of them, they never buried their fathers who died, or their brothers, because they killed. You know that the generation in the 80s, they're like no men, honestly. Because the Serbs, they massacred the men. So they couldn't bury. For us, it's a healing to be able to bury your mom or your dad, right? It's part of the healing to see, to put in the soil the body. It's very important, right? But if you don't have that opportunity, this is called physical loss, right? Then there is psychological loss. This is that a person is still physically there, but is psychologically absent, like when a person has amnesia. Like my grandmother, make dua for her, please. Her name is Zahra. She's 90 years old. She's such a beautiful grandmother. I used to love to speak with her. Today she doesn't remember a lot. But you know what the trick is? I speak about her when she's 20. Then she remembers everything. So I go back. It's like going back in history when you speak with her. And then she remembers everything. Because we know that amnesia affects the short-term memory, not the long-term memory, actually. So I feel like I'm losing her psychologically because she's not there anymore. That's why I'm going to Canada. Think of her, please, because I'm going to record her. Because she's my last connection to my lineage, to my history. So I need to record her. Nevertheless, it's really painful. I'm sure many of you, dear brothers and sisters, have been through when your loved ones are going through like these type of diseases, whether it's Parkinson or amnesia or Alzheimer, exactly. So these are two types. Now, grieving process. The grieving process for an ambiguous loss is quite different from regular grief in the case that one is not able to find closure due to unresolved or unprocessed or frozen grief. In cases of psychological ambiguous loss, for example, the grieving process can be especially difficult because of the inability to accept or admit that there is a problem and confront the situation in the first place as a way to deal with the situation. You know, frozen grief is one of the most difficult things to deal with as a clinician. I have worked with many clients that have frozen grief. It's very difficult. And we make dua for them. It's very difficult. And if you can't process it, it can become almost something pharaonic. Like you become a pharaoh, you become hateful. A lot of Iranians, one more time, I'm allowed to speak about Iran, I'm from Iran, okay? I will not speak about Malaysia or any other country out of my end of respect. And I'm not knowledgeable. I don't know if you guys know, many Iranians, they come to the West, they become secular. They take away their hijab, you know, they become secular, they change their names, right? Don't blame them. Wallahi, make dua for them. It's not their, it is their actions, but I mean, it's because of the oppression that they have been, right? The trauma they've been through. And they become so frozen that they actually equal the oppression they went through with all Islam. So some of the biggest Islamophobes in the West are Iranians and Kurds. Which doesn't make sense, right? Because they are Muslims, but because of the oppression. That's frozen grief. When frozen grief takes over, you don't process it, you become the oppressor. And this is something we can see. Now, if you process the grief in a healthy way, that becomes sumud. Sumud means resilience, all right? And one key factor in getting over an ambiguous loss is sumud and resilience. So in the normal grieving process, right, people obtain closure after dealing with a loss. In ambiguous loss, closure does not exist. It should not be sought after in this case, right? So resilience, sumud, and hope, raja, are important in the case of an ambiguous loss because together they are able to allow a person to come to terms with the loss. And studies have shown that religion and deen is one of the key factors that contributes to resilience. So trauma and ambiguous loss often coexist together, and if the trauma is not dealt with, it can trigger unresolved emotions. So to restore resilience could be a therapeutic way of dealing with ambiguous loss and reconnecting with the loss and the relationship with whom the loss is associated to. So trauma comes from ambiguous loss, you know? And by not dealing with the emotions connected to trauma, then you can come to frozen grief. These are 3 types of grief, dear sisters and brothers. Anticipatory grief. This is something that you can anticipate. It's very good. Okay, my mom, something is happening. I can start to plan for it. But it's difficult. It's not easy. You know? And we should never spiritually or psychologically bypass anyone. Right? It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to cry. Even as a man. Professor Derin was speaking about man up. I saw maybe 2 months ago a mother telling her young son, man up, don't cry. When the son was crying, I told her what you're doing to your son is torture. And that's why this will lead to a son who becomes a man that is not emotionally connected, and maybe then the only emotion that he's connected with is what? Anger, that leads to violence, that leads to this and this and that. But we allow this child to cry in a balanced way, not too much, not too little, then maybe that will lead 20 years from now, no domestic violence, no violence. I'm not saying that that is the only cause, but that could be one of the causes, right? The second type of grief is unrecognized grief. This occurs when the grief is not taken seriously. Forget about it. Actually, I meet a lot of brothers that sometimes they're resilient in the first witnessing of it. But it's really they bypass themselves. Because they think it's virtuous to not cry. But we know the Prophet ﷺ, he cried when his son lost his son Ibrahim, right? He did cry, right? That's unrecognized grief. And finally, which I'm going to focus on now, frozen grief, which is a result of the ambiguity of death because of the physical or psychological disappearance, for instance. You're frozen in it. Who is this person in this picture? Your brothers? Your sisters? Who is this? Yeah, Theodor Herzl. Who is Theodor Herzl? The founder of Zionism, right? He is a good example of frozen grief. You know why? Because Zionism is an example of frozen grief. The Jews have been suffering in Europe for 1,000 years. We will recognize that as Muslims. You know, when the Spanish Inquisition came to Spain, they massacred millions of Muslims and Jews. And Roma people, by the way. You know Roma people? They're also called Gypsy, but I don't use the word Gypsy because it's quite condescending. Roma people, right? They were massacring them, right? So, frozen grief is something that the Jewish people that became Zionists are stuck in. Because there is a history of oppression, right? There is a history of inhumanization, right? But there were 2 ways of dealing with it. Theodor Herzl and Viktor Frankl. I studied logotherapy. I love logotherapy, by the way. Have you guys studied logotherapy? Raise your hand. Who knows what logotherapy is? Or else I will give a small. Who knows what logotherapy is? Okay. Logotherapy is meaning-making therapy. To make meaning out of things you go through. Suffering, for instance. All right? Viktor Frankl was a Jewish person who was in Auschwitz during the Holocaust who survived. And he found meaning in his suffering. He even says that sometimes humor is good when you go through suffering. Very interesting, right? So, there's 2 ways of dealing with grief. Herzl and his companions, which are Zionists, which are terrorists, they became terrorists, right? They say, what happened to us should never happen to anybody like us again. What happened to us should never happen to us again. But Viktor Frankl and the anti-Zionist Jews, they say, what happened to us should never happen to anybody else again. That is to take your pain and come to high Muhammad. This is the prophetic way. What did the Prophet ﷺ do when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the faith? When Allah opened Mecca to them? Did he go and kill all the mushrikeen or the former, the Quraysh or those who oppressed him and his companions? Did he do that? No. He forgave them. And some of them became some of the best companions to spread Islam all over the world. Right? So, Islam is not about frozen food. What is this next picture? This is a picture from the siege of Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. 1258, the Mongol invasion. This is an example of process, grief, and resilience. Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, one of my teachers, he told us once in the class, that after the invasion of the Mongols, the people of Baghdad, they re-spiritualized themselves. And they found Allah again, connected to Allah. What does it mean? You know, there were sayings on the Mongol invasion 258 that there was so much, the river Tigris, which surrounds Baghdad, was filled with red color of the blood of the martyrs and black color of the ink of all the books that were destroyed. Right? What happened? These people made dua. They survived. They didn't blame Allah. What happened then? Ibn Khaldun met. You know Ibn Khaldun? He met Timur-Lenk. You know who Timur-Lenk is? Timur-Lenk is the descendant of Genghis Khan. He became a Muslim. You know what Timur-Lenk means? Lenk means halt in Farsi. You know, they were Persianate. The Persians made the Muslims and gave them Persian as a language. So the Mongols, they spoke Farsi. All right? I learned that there is a Farsi word in Malay, Angul. That's Persian, actually. It's quite interesting. So, Ibn Khaldun did dawah because they were quite polytheistic. They were Muslims, but they were still doing some shirk. You know, because they had this shamanic culture still there. So, Ibn Khaldun meets Timur-Lenk. And what did that lead to? Bilad al-Hindustan, which is the Mughal Empire. You were from India, sister?
No,
Malaysia. But you said you're half Indian or something?
my father.
My father. I love India and I love Malaysia. I love India. India is a beautiful country. Pakistan is a beautiful country. India's center of civilization, center of Islamic civilization. Right? Many of the great, Sufis came from India. They became Muslims in India thanks to the descendants of Genghis Khan. Who could imagine that when 1258 Genghis Khan comes and destroys Baghdad? That's why we as Muslims should never be frozen in our grief. Even our enemies can become Muslims. Who knows? So the dua might not be answered in your generation, but maybe in the next generation, right? Because Allah is merciful. Allah knows, right? And the Mughal created some of the most beautiful architecture, some of the most beautiful masajids, They were, endorsing interfaith dialogue, actually. If we want to speak about interfaith dialogue, we should look at the Mughals and the way that they treated other religion. And look now at the Hindu fascists that are frozen in grief. They're killing the Muslims. And also the Buddhists, by the way. They hate everybody that doesn't like their own ideology, right? So this is result when we process grief. So, an epiphany of something deeper is the response to suffering, which we can access through firasa, which is profound understanding that everything surrenders Allah's divine decree, nothing is outside of His control. So, in the aftermath of the Mongol destruction, we responded by re-spiritualizing ourselves. And this is what actually the Palestinians are doing. Wallahi, look at them. They are responding with spiritual. They will never go and do terrorist attack. Their way is self-defense. Self-defense. They don't kill innocent people, the Palestinians. And this is their land, by the way. According to the Geneva Convention, they are allowed to protect themselves. I want to compare Islamic versus Christian notion of man, because this is very important, right? But I don't have too much time, so I will leave it. I just want to mention that secularism is a reaction of Judeo-Christian notions. I'm happy to say that in front of Christians and still have respect for them. It's okay, we can have a healthy debate. Alright? Because, you see, when Sigmund Freud established psychoanalysis, he was dealing with women in Vienna who couldn't express their emotions. They were suffocating, which is not healthy. And then they got like psychopathological things. And then he said catharsis, release. And actually it worked. You know, but we say release with Sharia. That's why psychology became the science without the soul. The science do whatever you want. Do it yourself, which led to all these things that we see today with normalization of LGBTQ and normalization of choose your sexual identity. All this anthropocentric thing, which is not congruent with Islamic paradigm, and which is not healthy, and which is not according to God's plan. People became caught. But it was a reaction of a Judeo-Christian notion which is not healthy. To be a virtuous person in Judeo-Christian notion is different than Islam, right? So we believe actually that maybe if Freud was born in Baghdad, maybe he will never create psychoanalysis. Maybe he will just take Ibn Sirin and Imam Ghazali's work and say this is psychology, right? Because we don't have this view. Now obviously, I have respect for Christians, but I have ikhtilaf. I'm a Muslim, and I'm okay. We can still have interfaith dialogue, right? Because, you see, why psychology is so secular today is the reaction of these things. Man is born with sin, you know. We don't have this, but still our culture does. That's why we are bypassing people that are going through pain. Oh, you have no iman, come on, do a dua and then go. What? Of course do the dua and be with the pain. Because if you're not with the pain, then it will come back through your body. Because body points all the scores in, right? Modern Western society is a fight, flight, and free society, right? A reaction of unhealthy Judeo-Christian notions that became secularism, right? Modern Western society doesn't believe in mindful hijrah, it's an nafsani hijrah. So when we go through struggles, we want to flee from it. Get rid of it, zap it. Now actually people want to zap away the Palestinian suffer with the remote control. But thanks to TikTok and social media, now they can never do that again. Right? So you're fleeing from Qadar Allah, or you're fighting Qadar Allah, or you're frozen because you're unable to handle Qadar Allah. But from an Islamic psychological perspective, we freeze with the pain. Accept it. Don't accept that it will be there forever. It might change, but accept that right now this is your Qadar. Be with it. Because if you try to fight it all the time, then at last it takes so much energy from you that you don't have energy to do anything else, and this trial will take over your whole life, and you will become paralyzed. But if you just accept it and you're with it, wallahi, you'll see after a time that you will put it in the periphery and you can still do your daily routines. So rather be with it, accept it, and you'll see that it will not take over you. But if you fight it or you think about it all the time, then it will become a firan, right? So fight your nafs that does not want to accept Qadar Allah, which is predestination, right? The suffering and the flight is to flee and seek refuge in Qadar Allah, not from Qadar Allah, right? So this is the way that we can do it, and with patience comes ease because we mindfully normalize the suffering, and new wisdom comes with time in the state of mindful, slow, and spiritual wayfaring. All right. I'm going to end my lecture now, dear brothers and sisters. I just want to finally say to you guys that when we work with the fitra framework of pain and suffering from Islamic psychological point of view, we need to look at man as cyclical. We have the primary loss, then we have taklif and suluk, and with taklif and suluk comes pain, right? You might wound somebody, you might be wounded, then healing comes when we reconnect, right? And when we meet brothers and sisters, that are suffering, whether we are mental health professionals or just companions or friends, please don't take the things that Professor Derin and I spoke about today and communicate it just straightforward. Don't psychologically or spiritually bypass your sisters and brothers. Rather, communicate with ihsan and beauty. Because we need to understand that the pain is real, you know, so don't bypass them. Metacognition, tafakkur comes with time. Guidance should be compassionate oriented. If a person is in a deep depression, difficult to understand why they're going through it, then let them feel that pain. All right? Because if we bypass them, it will come back. It's important to be pedagogical and mentalize the client's disposition, right? Don't preach, rather reach. Don't start by teach. Reach, teach, not preach. Preaching is good for the shuyukh when they do khutbah, right? Humanize the way of approaching theodicy therapeutically. Don't be judgmental with the ifs and the whys. Rather mentalize the client as a questioner while providing irshad, guidance. Don't spiritually bypass, right? And also, remember that we are all mirrors. I am not better than them. Wallahi, brothers, I have so much struggles. Wallahi, sisters, I have so much struggles. It's easy to do a lecture. Wallahi, I'm flawed. This is the final slide. Dr. Sama Jabba, she's one of the leading clinical psychologists in Palestine. We did a lecture in ISIP. I don't know if you guys have checked it out. We did a lecture with her. Amazing. And we're going to start ISIP's Palestinian chapter, by the way, soon, inshallah. We're very excited. So inshallah, we will connect Malaysia and Palestine. We will work together, inshallah. Because Malaysia is one of the leading countries of the Ummah. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. She speaks about Palestinian resilience as sumud. Alright? Sumud is translated as resilience, and Dr. Sama defines it as a combination of endurance and steadfastness, both individually and collectively. Sumud is a mental state as well as a being action-oriented. It is a defiance against oppression. And there are 5 components of sumud, which is pro-social community center. Have you seen how the Palestinians are taking care of each other in Palestine? Okay, you lost your father, I am your father now. Okay, you lost your mother, I am your mother now. This is exactly how you guys dealt with the Dutch and the British colonization. The Dutch and the British were brutal. Of course, we love people from these countries today because, you know, people have on Tauban. You are not, this is the beauty of Islam. You're not responsible for what your ancestors did. Islam is pure. We don't believe in collective guilt. You know? So this is important to state. Nevertheless, they changed your script, right? From Jabi, which was this beautiful Arabic script, to Latin. This is to chill and epistemicize, take away your ontological understanding of your tradition and culture, right? But you guys, helped each other through pro-social things. The Palestinians the same way, right? The Uyghur Muslims the same way. The second is endurance and steadfastness. Yeah, I will endure, but I can still be with the pain. And defiance against oppression, because when we are oppressed, we will still fight. You know what Omar al-Mukhtar said? The great Libyan lion of the desert? He said, you can torture us, you can kill us, but you can never kill or torture our soul. Our soul, we are born free, and free we will die. I paraphrase, it was not exactly the way he said. Because we know our soul is free, right? Solidarity. Wallahi, things we see from the Palestinian brothers and sisters, wallahi, they're still helping each other. They still want to have interfaith dialogue with the Jews. They even say, we are not against the Jews, we're against Zionism. Oh. And they are loving despite, and they keep loving despite injustice. The Palestinians are our leaders. We love them for the sake of Allah. I want to thank you all for listening to my lecture. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. If I said anything wrong, did anything wrong, rest assured that all the mistakes are mine. All my knowledge comes from my teachers. All the knowledge is derived from Quran and Sunnah. I'm just a vessel, nothing else. I'm just a student, and I love what I'm studying. I also want to thank my beloved colleagues in ISIP Malaysia, and Sister Lorraine, and Allah make it easy for you and your family and your mother, Ustada Nuria, Ustada Aifa, Ustada Noreina, Ustada Farah, and Ustada Nalina, the rest of our team, and join the ISIP Malaysian chapter. This is our WhatsApp group name. So if you're not part of our WhatsApp group, we have a WhatsApp group for discussions that we are sharing. I will put this here, so just scan the QR code, join. We're going to establish Malaysian chapter of ISIP, work with different universities, institutions, organizations for the benefit of normalizing Islamic psychology and Muslim mental health. Malaysia is the leading country. Many of your scholars, many of Professor Manibadi's students went to IIUM. So we are indebted to Malaysia, to Nusantara, Indonesia, Singapore, this beautiful region, which is a blessed space. And you guys have a spiritual tradition which is ingrained and integrated into your beautiful culture. So join the ISIP in Malaysia. I am partially based in Malaysia. I will be at your service as your brother. And I'm open to any questions. And I want to thank Professor Derin for joining us today. And thank you, Sister Nafiza and the whole Mukha Cafe for allowing us to visit Brother Aman and rest of the team. Brother Aman has created our logotypes, by the way, so we have a connection here. All of our logotypes is from him. He's a very beautiful brother. May Allah bless you all. May Allah allow us to learn from Islamic psychology. May Allah bless and love all of our teachers who are spreading this information. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was a lot for us to take within 1 hour. A lot of people, it's good, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
I'm sorry.
No. Sorry, I'm trying to compliment.
Thank you so much. I'm just very passionate.
Yeah. It's very good, brother. By the way, your last name is Miri. Is that the Miri Sarawak?
You know what the funny thing is? I need to tell you guys. By the way, I have my, if anybody wants to contact me, I have my cards here. This is, the QR code is also my email address on my phone. So I have cards here. My last name is Miri, and there's a city in Malaysia called Miri, and my Persian name is Bahrain, and there's a city in Malaysia called Bahrain. And I was like, Baba, I told my husband, my father said maybe we have ancestry from Malaysia, Allahu Alam. Miri is a shorter version of Amiri, which means leader, and we are, and our family's roots is from Hijaz. We are from Saudi originally because we're Arabs, and also Persian Turk. But maybe we are connected to Malaysia. Nevertheless, I love Malaysia, so let's call it that I'm from Miri, inshallah.
I thought you were continuing your studies in Sarawak University or something like that, and
because everybody who studies in Ashar, they become al-Asari, so
Yeah. There's a lot of things that he has covered. I'm not going to go through that, but I would like to give an opportunity for a few people if you have any questions, because it is already 12:25. Questions first. If nobody has question, I was just thinking about it, about this grief, and part of grief is also if you are being, if one is being, some bad things happen to you, cruelty happen to you, part of giving it is accepting that this is me, but how much dua do we give to somebody who has been cruel to us? How can we balance it with the, like looking at what's happening with the, happening in Gaza? Okay, it's nice that you said Palestinians still want to do interfaith, whatever. But the rest of us, we're just like, what's going on? Just why can't we fight off the Israel or the America, etc., etc.? So how do we?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question, Doctor. My first and foremost, I don't speak for the Palestinians. Whatever they want to do, I support. This is just my position. If not, then I'm a colonizer. Speaking for Palestinians, what they do, I'm not in Gaza. Whatever they do, I am with them. Unapologetic. This is ISIP's position. Right? Now, from the point of view of being a human being and also being an Islamic psychologist, I would say like this: it's a balance, of course, because we also should fight. So it's not like we're pacifists. As Muslims, we don't believe turns out to cheat. If somebody hits you, then if you need, hit back. But I would say that's the last option. You can never win over the Zionist regime with weapons. At the end of the day, they're too strong. Well, how we win is how you guys are winning, through boycotts, right? We're winning right now through boycotts, right? We're winning through spreading the voices of the Palestinians. Making dua is not to say, here, make dua, please make Benjamin Netanyahu Muslim. Yeah, you can do that, by the way. That's a valid dua. But in the end, you can also say, make dua that the Palestinian doesn't suffer. Allah, you choose which way is the best. You put it to Allah to decide. The Mongols, that they became Muslims, this is karamat, this is a miracle. Imagine what the people in Baghdad felt when they were like the Zionists. I am from Iran. The Mongols destroyed all of our books and libraries in Iran. Baghdad was the center of Iran, center of the Muslims. Back then we didn't have nationalism. Alhamdulillah, I don't like nationalism. I don't like these borders at the end of the day. And honestly, we know which trauma they give, but then what happened? They became Muslims. So we don't know what happens in 100 years. All right? But we should definitely make dua. But at the same time, we should protect, we should work with self-defense. So it's a balance. And if we take it to a micro level, somebody's oppressing, what should I do? Of course you don't need to be, why should you be surrounding yourself in a place where you get oppressed? And the Palestinians obviously are caught in Gaza, they can't do anything, right? So it's not like, just give love unconditionally, yes, we're all, that's not the Islamic way either. The Prophet ﷺ fought the mushrikeen and the munafiqeen, of course. But at the same time, he made dua as well. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he became a Muslim through the dua of the Prophet ﷺ. Because the Prophet ﷺ made dua. Make Umar a Muslim, and he became a Muslim. So, it's a balance, right? What we are saying here is just generalization. In a lecture, in an hour, you need to generalize things. But we need to be, it's okay to be angry. But I would say putting lana on people, that is not, the Prophet never put lana on people. And that is, I don't want to speak about politics, okay? So I'm not going to speak about other religions in that way or other fractions of Islam. But frozen grief comes when you put lana on people as well. Specifically people that has nothing to do with it. I have another lecture about that, but this is for a different topic. Allah. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay,
Yes.
sister, please introduce yourself.
Would you like to have the microphone
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because
sure,
the
sure.
people are recording?
Okay, yes.
Brother Peck, please forgive me. I use so many Arabic term. I hope I could translate for you so you understand.
I'm translating.
My name is Hanu.
Sorry, your name is?
Yeah?
What was your name?
Hanu.
Hanu, nice to speak to you,
Yeah.
sister. MashaAllah, nice to see you.
So I have one question. As a counselor,
Yes.
how long should we let our client, maybe family members or friends, to be with the grief, I mean the feel of sad and pain?
Yeah.
Because like we have the guideline DSM. It's
Yes.
not on the diagnosis for the mental disorders. Like we should observe the problems or what we call it, the symptoms in 2 weeks. Then we
Yes.
should refer them to the psychiatrist and so on. So maybe we have another indicator in Islam to help our client in experiencing grief. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sister, for a very important question. I would say like this, sister. The DSM, of course, is a good tool to use, but we shouldn't make it into a law. You know, we should see it for what it is. It's a tool. It has its errors. It has its strengths. I think we should do an Islamic DSM, by the way. I think that IUM is working on that, by the way. You guys are leading here in Malaysia. I think that Allah decides, sister. I don't know what to answer on that. Some people, they process it very quickly. Some people need more time. So try to be fine-tuned with your gut feeling. You know, the gut feeling in Farsi, by the way, I just want to mention, means in Farsi, gut is mede. And mede means both stomach and heart. So when I say gut feeling, I mean heart feeling as well. So be with your heart and be fine-tuned with the client as much as you can. And then you will find ways. I cannot answer, sister. Honestly, I don't. But let the process be there, because many of our clients, I'm not an expert on Malaysian culture. I can just say I love Malaysia. That's the thing. I just want to say positive. But you guys know both the positive and negative of your culture. In all culture, there are positive and negative. No, we don't have any perfect culture. We have perfect Islam and perfect deen, not perfect culture, right? So I would say, from my experience in certain cultures, it's taboo to even grieve. You know, it's taboo to even feel. So I think we need to also reflect upon the culture narratives to try to refrain those. Whether that's the case in Malaysia, I'll let you decide. I see that with some of my clients. I hope that was okay answer. Please forgive me for not being able to fully answer.
Okay, that's safe answer. Okay, another one.
I think also Ustad here had a question.
Okay, the question.
Yeah.
Okay, we start first. Yeah.
You want to take the microphone?
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you very much for your inspiring talk today.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much.
I think in the Quran,
Yes.
especially in Surah Al-Mulk,
Yes.
it mentions that Alladhi khalaqal mauta wal hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. Sadaqallah. And this is where I always think, what could be the psychological, Islamic psychology framework with regard to this, in terms of that creating a person
Yes.
to improve or even to come to the best deed that he will be looking into the life as well as the die.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Allah.
MashaAllah. You're an ustad. We want to listen to you. I always say, you know, I am just a miskin. I'm a student. I had just the honor to study with great teachers. So, mashallah. There is something in Islamic thought that I really love, and in our culture, is the respect for our elders. You know, our elders have wisdom that we don't have as a younger generation, I'm telling you. You guys lived in a different context when digitalization was not there. You have a closer connection to nature and to fitrah. Obviously, all generations have their struggles as well, right? So I would say that the insights we can take from Quran, we will listen to you, Ustad, and learn from you, inshallah. And the wisdom of the elders is truly a blessing. We need more spaces for intergenerational dialogue. I think that we have internalized in our culture generational segregation, which is not the case. Can I just tell a short story? When I was small, my father is a psychologist, by the way. His name is Seyed Hussein. So they say the apple falls close to the tree. And I didn't want to become like my father when I was young. It was like this defiance. I became a hip-hop artist. Imagine what he said. Hip-hop, no, stop for love. And then he understood that hip-hop is good. Nevertheless, Long story short, after many years I became a psychologist. Who can imagine that? My father, subhanAllah, when I was young, I asked my father, how was it to go to kindergarten? And you know, kindergarten is a Western thing, by the way. I don't know, maybe you guys have it in Malaysia, but it's like, you know, in West they institutionalize everything. We bring it to the family, they institutionalize it. And that's where the disconnection with family comes. I'm very against institutionalization of many things. I believe that the family and the village should take care of it. That's why we believe in the whole notion of waqf and al-qaf. It's not to institutionalize, it's to allow Allah to own. Right? So essentially, my father said, you know, Jamaluddin, I had a kindergarten teacher, her name is Halima Khanum. Khanum is Mrs. in Farsi. And he made this funny story that they were playing in the streets and they were, then after a while, this is his auntie in the streets, right? And they had so much fun, right? So why I'm answering this is the intergenerational connection is very healing, because then we are getting the wisdom of the elders and we pass it on. And that's why, Ustad, you have the wisdom, I'm not. So I don't answer it, you can answer that answer. Go ahead.
Okay. Next question. Intergenerational dialogue, that's good.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Wallahi. We have so much. The Prophet ﷺ, if you look at the first 50 Sahaba, many of them were under 20. You know Dar al-Arqam. I mean, here's Dar al-Arqam, right? This is like a space for halaqah. The first halaqah of the Prophet ﷺ was in Dar al-Arqam. Al-Arqam, we don't know a lot about him. They say he was 15 or 16. And he gave his house to the Prophet ﷺ for the first halaqah. 15, 16. And the Prophet was maybe 40, right? He was 40, right? So this says something about the belief in the youth. And we should believe in the youth and we should believe in the elders. And the psychology, intergenerational psychology is important. Please forgive me. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa
My
alaikum salam.
name is Nazira.
Sister Nafisa, nice to see you. We'll speak later, inshallah. Thank you so much for everything.
My question is about clients, my psychology clients, those with mental health illness. Many come with religious struggles. Religious struggles, conflicts. They've long been pious Muslims, but why do Allah give this to me? I'm much more better than my friends, but why does Allah give so many pain and suffering from one to another? And usually they are very religious people. I mean, they're very much excellent and more pious than me, that's for sure. They don't leave their tahajjud, they don't leave their sunnah, Quran, but when Allah tests it as such, it becomes so painful for them. And there are times when I also don't know how to address this because it is very painful. I can validate with them, but how to help them when they are more religious than me? I mean, yeah, from what I can see, from what they say. But yeah, religion can be very superficial as well, in a way that they say that I've done a lot of amal, but like you said, like my routines or not. But sometimes when life takes it, I mean, gives hardship to them, they're stuck. So how yeah, I do a lot of compassion. I think they do come in after I've seen them, but you know, I know it's not there's no right or wrong answer to this, but there comes a time when I feel stuck as well.
I
understand. Help them.
We want a guideline.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Nadina, for your very thoughtful question. And I would say that let's reflect upon it together. First and foremost, I don't believe that somebody is more or less religious, first and foremost. We don't know that, by the way. You know, Allah can put you in high maqam and then put you down in the maqam later. So we don't know that. Obviously, we don't know who the awliya is either, because they are always often covered. So, listen, sister, in all honesty, you can be a Hafiz Quran. I have clients that are Hafiz. I'm not a Hafiz Quran. Right? I'm a revert to Islam. I became practicing 10 years ago. Alhamdulillah, why I call myself revert is because I'm born in a Muslim country in a sense or a context, but I reverted back because my parents were not religious. That's the difference between revert and convert. Convert is a person who didn't have that exposure at all. Revert had. So, but I can tell you, even a Hafiz Quran can have addiction problem. There is a lot of people that are very religious now that have porn addiction. That's part of their humanness. I'm not saying it's good. I don't judge them less or more with the person who's not a Hafiz Quran. We shouldn't make scholars or teachers into icons. You will be disappointed. You know, modern paganism is to worship artists, you know, or famous people. You won't be disappointed because nobody's perfect at the end of the day. Rather, take the benefit from them, appreciate them, and also see their struggles as, they're human like me. And that's a healthy way of looking at it. Actually, one of my teachers, I'm not going to mention his name, he's a very well-known person, I think many of you might know who he is. He said something profound, and why I'm not mentioning his name, because this was in a private conversation. I don't know if he would like me to share his name here, in this particular quote. This person tells me, because I told my teacher, let's become friends. And I didn't mean it in a bad way. I will tell you why. Because we're the same age, actually. How old do you think I am, by the way? My ego wants to hurt you. I'm quite old. People think I'm younger than what I am, so we're the same age.
29.
So, sorry?
29.
No, I'm a little bit older. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Ustad Jamaluddin. You see that you're mad at me because you're Jamal. No, the thing is, I told him, let's be colleagues and companions. And he said such a beautiful thing to me that shook me. And I got this epiphany. And he said, the day that we can become brothers if you want, because we're very close, but the day when we become brothers, that you lose the sacred thing of learning something and this divine relationship sacred between the Shaykh and the Murid. Now, he's not my Shaykh, by the way. He's my teacher. And I was thinking about this. And it came to me that, yeah, that's true. I need to have a distance to it. Because if you're too close to your teachers, you might actually lose some of this, what do you call it, this barakah that comes with, because then they become human, you see their problems. Because teachers are not perfect, they don't come on time, they don't answer by email, people get disappointed, all these things. So keep that distance to a certain level. And humble yourself in a space that, they might be knowledgeable, but they still have struggles. And maybe they don't have knowledge in everything, and you might be more knowledgeable in something else. That is a healthy way, and then we don't put people on pedestals, because when we put on pedestals, we will be disappointed. We will be disappointed. I will be disappointed because I put people on pedestals before. I don't do it. I can still have my adab and show respect and serve and put my feet down and head down and all these things you should do to the elders and to the seniors and to the teachers. They say you should kiss the hands of 3 people: your father, your parents, Ahl al-Bayt, and your teachers. This is a part of our tradition. And the teachers is the shuyukh, right? So I would say for this case, just humanize them. Because they might be religious, but they might have struggled. I know brothers that they studied the deen for 20 years and they suffer with intimacy. They have porn addiction. And you think that porn addiction is only the people that are partying out in the streets? No. Because we have an unhealthy way of speaking about love in Islam. Actually, we have another lecture, next time we can do it, me and Professor Derin, love according to Rumi, and how to use it in psychology to speak about holistic love. I speak about it from brotherly love, ukhuwa. This is something that I'm focusing on in my research as well, ukhuwa. What is ukhuwa? I can love my brother, Ustad Jamaluddin, and give him a hug, and I don't sexualize it. There's not, because Western narrative has sexualized brotherly love. That's why we are not even hugging each other anymore, because we think, wait a minute, they might think I'm homosexual. I'm not homosexual because I hug you. Because this is the aspect of disconnection because of a reaction of modernity. So I would say that one way of resolving the issues is not to think about them as teachers, think about them as teachers and as humans. And then it will make it easier for you to ask the question.
But I think part of the question that she has is, how do you respond to
Yes.
someone who come to you,
Yes.
who is very good, everything, and yet this person is getting all kinds of trials and tribulations
Yes.
from Allah. How do we,
I understand.
yeah, how do
To
we?
humanize. Wallahi, to humanize. To humanize it. I really firmly believe to humanize is to be with that. Like I saw Sister Lorena being here, and she started to cry.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
Because you humanized her. Our colleagues here humanized her. Nobody said, why you're not on time? Nobody said to them, why are you? Of course, you're not on time. Khalas, we wait 2 hours. It's not the end of the world that we don't start. This is the Swedish mentality, IKEA. Everything is organized. You need to be there in the moment. And I'm realizing that people are internalizing. No, it's not the end of the world, because you humanized it. You didn't judge it. You gave it mentalization. You should cry. So I would really say that the best method for this type of interaction with people, humanization of their experience. Be with them. Don't bypass them, even if they're religious. Use the religion as a strength. Brother, I understand you're tough. You remember we were reading the story of Musa alayhi salam, or Sayyidina Yunus alayhi salam, or Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam? You use it as a strength instead of bypassing, right? So humanization, mentalization, and then we have another tool which is called murabata. What is murabata? Rabat means connection. Murabata, heart-to-heart connection, right? So me and Ustad, we can have heart-to-heart connection. I feel you, you feel me. I am with you. This will be a good tool to utilize, inshallah.
Okay, I see people are getting restless and because they may have to be somewhere else.
Okay.
I wish we can have more of this.
Inshallah.
Would you like to come again?
I will love. I'm gonna live here part time, so I will be here. Inshallah. Yeah. I'm gonna have a base in Malaysia, part time.
Oh, very good, very
Yeah,
good.
so I
So
will be
maybe he'll be one of our special surprise speaker when we have our launching sometime in August or September.
Can I just say one thing, Ustad, before you go? I know people need to go. Please scan the QR code. If you're not, join us. Please come and take my details or our colleagues' details. Please connect with Sister Duria or Sister Aifa, Sister Nurini, Sister Farah, Sister Marina. Join our movement. You are very much needed. You guys have Allahu Akbar. Is that everything good with the child? MashaAllah. And finally, we're going to do a lot of activities here. And we have a lot of experts in you guys and our scholars and teachers here. So join us. And I'm going to stay here afterwards to be with all of my colleagues here in ISIP Malaysia who wants to hang out. We want to eat food together. So I am here also for all of you who want to just stay and speak. I'm here. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining. So Jazakallah khair.
Okay, so Alhamdulillah, we have come to the end of our session. Of course, we planned, but then things happen, and we are all very thankful, shukr to Allah that everything still runs as best as it could. So we pray that Allah puts barakah in our gathering, that all our efforts have been, will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I would like to have a session of, we would like to have a session of taking pictures, maybe, because the place is small, maybe the brothers with you, and then the sisters can, because maybe, you are a celebrity.
No, I understand. I just want to. Can we give a round of applause to our host as well, mashallah, for hosting the session. And Sister Aifa and Sister Farah and also Sister Farah, thank you for filming, Sister Aifa, for the food. This is a gift from ISIP to you. Yeah, and I will give gifts to the rest of you all.
Okay, can you maybe this side, because there's more area. Maybe the brothers first and then the sisters.